Hello, everybody. Welcome to, yes, the Portland Conversations, a show that was started, almost 3 years ago and never got off the ground. So here it is now. Why? Because we've got a special guest here in the Newsbox studios. I'm really excited about this. We did not do the coffee with curmudgeons today, but that's okay. We can do that. We'll be back on Monday. Like I said, we wish Jason well and hope everything's okay. But more importantly now, here on the Conversations, we have a special guest. The special guest is Neil Cohen. Neil Cohen is the primary songwriter, lead singer, and guitarist of Warshow Angels and the Dead Stars on Hollywood. He's performed, produced, and remixed bands including Collide, Contagion, Patty Rothberg, Buzzcocks, The Dandy Warhols, Hanoi Rocks, UK Subs, Consolidated Black and Blue, and Sin Corporation. He is here to talk about his new project, Home on the Range, a farm animal benefit compilation CD and documentary film for the nonprofit Compassionate Farming Education Initiative. The album includes songs by Moby, Joan Jett, Yoko Ono, Bright Eyes, The Pretenders, Nellie McKay, Howard Jones, Princess Superstar, and the Warshow Angels. Neil, welcome to Portland.
Thank you. It's nice to be back here.
It's a mouthful there.
That was quite an intro that you gave me there. I have a lot to live up to
thanks
now.
to Wikipedia. Hopefully it's true.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. Hopefully
he's a pretty knowledgeable guy.
Yeah. Hopefully, all that was semi-accurate.
Relatively. It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Some of it. Yeah.
So I have this just Warshow Angels.
Yes.
So I actually had to phonetically spell it. It's a tongue twister.
It is. Anytime anybody ever has a band, what happens is they hear the name of the band for the first time.
Right.
And then in their mind, they start to think about something else. And then no matter what the name of your band is, you're gonna have to correct them.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna say, "Oh, what's the name of your band?" The Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Right.
Oh, they this and then you'll think it's something else, and then you'll have to correct them. But until you hear it enough times, people will say, well, Warsaw,
Yeah.
this, Warsaw.
Yeah, I mean that was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, oh, how nice! You named a band after a town in Poland.
Yeah,
that's
the first one. And when I was in Dead Stars, people would say, the Dead Starts or what on who what. So it just has to be repeated enough times, I guess. So we're still in that phase.
So you're from Portland, New York. You're
originally from New York.
Yeah. And
born in the Bronx, actually, in New York. I lived in Portland in the 90s, and I guess that was definitely a good time for music. I was in a band called Strongbox in the 90s, and then when I left 2003, I moved back to New York City and kind of reformed that band into Dead Stars on Hollywood. I guess sort of the tail end of being in Portland, we did the Dead Stars. We did a support show with Guar for a Halloween ball at
Guar?
With Guar, yes. Roseland Theater. We played with Placebo. We played with a bunch of different bands, and there was a lot of cool music happening locally back then, 90s to 2003. And then there was a huge New York scene that exploded. The the Strokes and Interpol and Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and there were a lot of great things going on. So we were kind of involved in a lot of that, the hubbub that was happening over there.
Right. Well, there's just I don't know, there's such a resurgence of like the 90s Portland music scene. Like, what is it, a week ago? There was
That's not a bad thing, though.
A Dead Moon.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's great.
At City Hall.
It's brilliant.
Correct. So, what?
Not reunion.
Oh, well, not reunion, but
it's like a tribute. It's a tribute, yeah.
Okay, tribute.
I saw a picture. There was a cake that had the Dead Moon logo on. It was really cool. That's anytime that a band's legacy can sustain itself and people remember that band, it's a good record doesn't go away, you know.
Right.
It just stays. So anytime someone can artistically contribute to that pool of music and culture and people remember it, that's a good thing. Whether they remember it in a bad way or a good way, you've at least made a tiny mark, you know, in that moment. And a record is like a snapshot in time, and it's cool when that stuff comes back. There's a lot of bands kind of reliving some of that, you know, some of that heyday. I got a chance to see Interpol do their first album in its entirety a couple of weeks back. They're on tour doing that, and it brought back a lot of good memories. So
yeah, I mean it's good memories. It's you know you grow up, you have kids, have a family, you start taking them to Disney animated Pixar films, and you
I
hear
haven't.
the songs
I can't say I've done that, but yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, you all of a sudden, you know, it's like, oh, I remember that song from the 90s that's now Shrek is dancing around to or something. I don't know. Yes, I'm back in my curmudgeon
Are we
mode.
talking about Smash Mouth? I mean, what are we talking about here?
No, I don't know.
Because I would rather not hear that again.
Yes. So you are here back in Portland, though.
Yes.
And you're here promoting a project.
I'm here promoting a project on behalf of CFEI, which is a 501c3 vegan educational nonprofit. The flagship project is called Home on the Range. It's a record album, a compilation with the artists that you had mentioned before. We have Yoko, we have Moby, Joan Jett, Pretenders, Bright Eyes, Howard Jones, Nellie McKay. So the project also comes with a companion documentary. So I'm here at the Portland Veg Fest, which is this weekend. We're doing 2 screenings of that film with a Q&A. All in promotion of this project, and the money that all the album sales and those proceeds go to fund 4 farm animal sanctuaries across the U.S.
Now, farm animal sanctuary, for those people who maybe aren't as familiar with the compassionate
Sure.
farming and maybe the vegan lifestyle.
Yeah, plant-based and vegan lifestyle.
Are these like, do they rescue farm animals?
They do. They pull them from dangerous situations. Sometimes they come from factory farms. They've escaped that fate. Some of these animals can be found left on the side of the road. Different emergency type situations. These farm animal sanctuaries will provide shelter and medical care and things like that, and they're also nonprofit as well. So the funding is very important. There's a lot of people that volunteer for these things, and I wanted to come up with a project that would be a bit broad, using my background, music and video and a cause. So that's how it came out of frustration, really. Like, what can I do? And I miss all those albums from back then. You know, there's a cause. So I thought I'd bring it back, and it's turned out pretty cool. So these farm animal sanctuaries are receiving money from the sales of this album, and I worked with these people, and everyone graciously donated music and their time, and it's been a great ongoing project. So I'm here this weekend at the Expo Center, and we're going to screen the film and going to do a Q&A. I'll be there, with the CDs, and we have merchandise to raise money for the organization and just spread awareness.
Now here's this is a perfect segue into a lot of stuff. Here's the CD right here, the actual CD. Can you buy it digitally as well, or
you can? Okay. It's on all the all the digital channels that you would find at iTunes, Amazon.
And how much does a CD cost?
It's a $15 donation.
$15 donation,
it's tax
right?
deductible, and the download I think is $10 or something like that. We also used Burnside Distribution, which is local, which is part of Music Millennium.
I noticed there was a CD Baby.
There's a CD. We use CD Baby as well, local. Also Portland. So.
And then this money goes to Compassionate Farming Education Initiative.
No, this money initially it goes to Compassionate Farming Education Initiative, but it is split 4 ways between the 4 sanctuaries that we
the
find.
4 actual sanctuary farms.
Yeah, so we will cut a check. We send them boxes of CDs that they can sell at their gift stores and promotional expos and stuff, and then we just send them a check when the residuals get to quarterly, or I don't do that end of it, but I know that the checks went out because I received several thank you notes. So
you can just buy a CD and listen to some good music, and wherever the money goes, it goes into a positive place.
It's like PBS. It's like you donate $15 and you get a CD.
So I want to show, you've got a little promo of the CD, which is really nice.
Oh, okay.
Online. So I wanted to show them, because us just talking about it.
Right. No one wants to hear me talk about it.
Well, we want to hear you talk about it, but it's probably not as exciting as watching this promo that's on here. This is like Joan Jett and Howard Jones.
Yes.
And,
Princess Superstar.
Yeah.
She's pretty awesome.
So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Home on the Range CD promo. All right, that was exciting. That was I missed the little T. We're gonna post the links anyway, but that is the promo reel for this CD. You're gonna want to go out and buy, and then listen to the music, and then farm animals are gonna live a good life. So you're gonna just feel good all the way over. So tell me about how you put that together. You got Joan Jett, you got Moby, you got the Pretender, you got Howard Jones, you got people I actually even know.
That people that you know personally.
Yeah, well, no.
But
we will soon, right? We'll
absolutely
we'll make connections and
sure. So it was it started so it started really out of frustration. I wanted to do. I liked the benefit album factor. I remember, there was always a cause or some kind of a show happening where a lot of artists would get together. Yeah. Like Hearing Aid, you had Dio and all those cool metal people doing. Anyway.
Yes.
So I had planned to do a compilation. So I started just with people I knew. And the first two people that I asked was Moby and Howard Jones. And immediately they said, yes, great.
So you just got him on the phone, like, hey.
No, I was at a party, and Moby was there, and hey, Moby, what's up?
Right.
And I said, I have this idea, I want to run by you, and what do you think? And he said, great, let's make it happen. Let's work on a song, let's do this. Howard, I emailed, having met him before, sweetheart, he's been a big proponent for animal rights for years and years. I remember hearing one of his songs on a PETA compilation, 20 odd years ago. So he's very much into that. And I believe he had a vegetarian pet food company for a while. This was back in England. Right. Anyway, he's very active in it and was very active with PETA. Joan Jett is the same way.
Right.
Very vegan. Same with Chrissy Hind.
Right.
So that was. Yeah, so it was really reaching out through a friend of a friend, or a lot of the people I knew. I worked with some people from Crass and the Buzzcocks and UK Subs, and just did a lot of different. It was a lot of legwork and a lot of we have 21 songs on there.
Wow. So
we have the Color Fred. He's from Taking Back Sunday. We have Bright Eyes. We've got we have Justin Sane. A lot of different people. Nellie McKay, another very outspoken vegan activist.
Yeah, I mean the common thread here is these are all artists who have been vegan lifestyle proponents of animal rights
and proponents of peace. For me, Yoko Ono was like a huge, that was a huge turning point when she agreed to do that. So sweet and gracious, and she wrote me this lovely letter, and actually gave us an unreleased song that no one's ever heard before about. It was about a dog that John had given to Sean for Christmas, and they had this dog on their family farm.
Ode to Meadow.
Ode to Meadow. And the dog, had just disappeared one day, run away, or, something unknown something had happened to the dog where the dog disappeared. And it's a very, it's a very contemplative song, and it's very personal to her. And it had a lot to do with, John's gift to Sean of this dog for their farm. So as soon as when that happened, I knew we had something really special.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, so did you email Yoko, or were you just at a party and it's like, hey, I'm just
that was a little more difficult because she's like an apparition.
Right.
Right. I have seen her at different functions and things, but there's a certain way you have to contact her.
She kind of has that larger than life.
Nothing
Yoko
is done
Ono
through email, I'll tell you that.
name.
There's nothing that's done through email. You have to be there, and you have to write on paper.
Right.
to do that. Yeah.
Ooh, actual letter on parchment.
Exactly.
With a
She does not email.
Maybe.
No, that's
Like
why
a
she
little
wrote.
calligraphy,
Yeah,
maybe?
and she wrote me. Yeah, and and when I saw this letter, I just it's really special.
So you had to like maybe get a Caligula. I can't even speak. See, this is
Caligula.
what
I love that.
I know.
What a great film that was.
That'll be. It wasn't it?
It was. It's very relaxing.
Anyway, so yeah, you write it on the parchment, and
you have to write. You have to actually write.
Wax
You have to
seal.
write to her, and you have to put down exactly what
Right.
this. You have in mind. And
so I know, I remember Chrissy Hine being very outspoken, like way back in the 80s.
Yes.
Joan Jett, I had heard, not so much, but very, very, like, since the 70s or, from day one.
Yeah.
So really that thread's there. Were there other artists that you wanted to get that you couldn't quite get? Maybe that'll be the Home on the Range second edition. Part 2.
I have a different plan for part 2. I probably won't do a full compilation like this again, but I think we're going to do kind of an all-star band and do a one song
nice
kind of thing.
Kind of a
so there were people that for whatever one reason or another are not on
schedules.
this first. There were a lot of close calls. It was impossible. Management changes, things like this.
I mean, just the lineup that you have is really impressive. I was really impressed when I had heard about it, and finally it was like, well, here it is. Here's the and it was like,
it's
wow.
not just talk anymore.
Yeah.
It's actually a thing that you can hold in your hand now. Yeah. But yeah, there are some people that I have in mind for the next project.
And so each of these are each of these tracks unique to the album? You said like Yoko gave you this unreleased.
Most of them are exclusive just to this. Yeah.
Very good.
So alternate mixes, unreleased, live versions, demo versions, things like that. Just to keep it interesting, especially for music fans that want to collect, that want to actually have and hold something that contains unreleased material. So we've had a lot of good success with it. People are ordering physical CDs. We sign a lot of CDs. We do these events, and we get to meet the people firsthand and can see the enthusiasm.
How long did this take you to make? I mean,
between between the
the
idea of let's do this and combining this, also the other component is the documentary film that goes with it.
Well, just take the CD, just put in this.
But the
CD.
whole thing was a project together. It was all components. So this CD is actually the soundtrack to the documentary.
Okay.
So the entire thing took 5 years.
Yeah.
From start to finish because of everything, because of life. Living in New York City, it's everything's a pain in the ass, and trying to get anything to happen. In addition to everybody, all these people are traveling all over the world at any given moment. So it's like they're on board, and then sometimes the timing doesn't work out. It's a big electric circus. Everyone's got all their things they're promoting. Moby had a book. Yoko had an art show in France. Pretenders did a tour. Joan did a tour. Everybody's busy doing stuff. Connor had a couple of new records come out, Bright Eyes. So everyone's busy doing their thing. So this was a nice way to kind of line everybody up, and it did take quite a while, but it was completely worth it.
Well, I mean, for an undertaking like this, with, like you said, the documentary, just in conjunction, seems like 5 years is pretty good. I mean,
it felt like 15,
considering the people you got together here.
Yeah, we did all right for 5 years.
I mean, you have not only do you have the logistics of putting this thing physically together,
right?
You have legal things and
contractual stuff, getting distribution, getting physically pressing the CDs, getting things where they need to be at a certain time. We had a distributor in the UK and Europe, so we had to get 1,000 CDs to start off with to Europe. So there are a lot of moving parts to making it happen.
And then you went into the studio. You produced this yourself, right? You put it together and put the compilation together. And
so some of these were collabs that I did with the artists, and then some of them were tracks that they already had and recorded and sent to me. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a like hobbled together in whatever way we could get all these people together. It would be great to do a We Are the World where we're all, in the same place at the same time, but it's physically impossible.
And a little known fact, folks, on the inside cover here, Neil in his kitchen got a lamb, a chicken, and a little piglet.
In my kitchen.
In your kitchen on the table to
but
take
they're
that
alive.
photograph.
They're alive.
Right.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not going to be
cute,
eaten.
I don't know if they can see it, but there's a cute little.
There's an insert in there as well with some more cute animals and.
Oh yeah.
Inside there.
Well, that's congratulations. Oh wait.
Because So the thing is that
if you can see
the animals want to live just like people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk a little bit about just being vegan, the vegan lifestyle for folks out there who are not, or in many cases who are people who are vegan curious.
Right.
So
without getting too heavy-handed,
sure.
It starts with just the way you think about things.
When did you become plant-based?
So
animal rights.
It started initially in 1991. I was in a band with a guy who was a vegetarian, and in the back of my mind, it had always occurred to me that, hey, maybe this isn't really right. Eating animals is not the right thing. And I hadn't really become that close with somebody that had a lot of experience with it. And, when you're in a band, it's like you're in a street gang together.
Sure.
You go into war together, right? So I really looked up to Ron, who was my drummer at the time. We had a band called Spirits in Sin, which became Sin Corporation, which was mentioned earlier there. And within a couple of years, I had started doing more activism stuff. The more I learned about the mistreatment of animals in so many different ways, the more came out. So it didn't really fall on top of me necessarily as like a big heavy burden. It kind of started with a thought, and then the next step, and then the next step, and then within a couple of years, I went vegan. I learned about the dairy industry. I learned about the egg industry. Just again, factory farming in general. Sure. A lot of mass agricultural production, things like this. But there are a lot of great resources now. Back then, you got a flyer, or you got a PETA book, or you got something, or you read Diet for a New America, or
you don't really have the web,
or you got there was a book called The Sexual Politics of Meat. There was another one that was happening around then. And one of the guys that I play with in Warshow Angels was in Consolidated, so the drummer of Consolidated, and they were a vegan activist band. So I learned a lot of stuff from them initially, and then I ended up playing with them. So it was pretty cool.
Were you in the early '90s and starting to go in the music and the vegan community? Were you in Portland at the time, or New York?
I was actually in Arizona at the time. Okay. I was going to school at ASU, Arizona State University, and got into a scene of people that was more into industrial and electronic and gothy kind of stuff. And I noticed a lot of these industrial bands were animal rights advocates. Those are Skinny Puppy and Consolidated, as I mentioned before.
Right.
So that kind of brought me into that, into that area. Like, hey, there are musicians that are doing this, and I liked a lot of different kinds of music. At the time, I was in an industrial project, doing heavy guitars and synth and vocals, and it was pretty cool. Back, wax tracks records kind of stuff. It just gradually over time became like, hey, wait a minute, I'm an activist.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you're talking about like that Arizona industrial scene, because the reason I asked about Portland is I've recently been reading about the early animal activists and vegan community, which came out of, really was pushed by the punk scene, and the band scene in Portland. That it's like all these, dirty punks.
Yes. So you go back and you look at you go back and you look at the Damned, you look at Buzzcocks, you look at, and Crass especially, like very activist, and a lot of that stuff melded together because I was interested in so many different kinds of music. But as far as the activism stuff, that just gradually grew over time. It started with a couple different decisions here and there, and then I couldn't help myself. It's like something needed to be done for these animals, and there's that punk aesthetic where it's like, by any means necessary, like get this stuff to happen.
Well, yeah, and you're in a especially like you said, it's very strong when you're in a band. When you're doing something artistic, you've got a vision, and then you're with other people, who are other musicians, and they've got this philosophy, this lifestyle, and it's a very strong influence, positive influence.
It's definitely an undercurrent, and I didn't want to be in a political band or I just wanted to make music, and when some of these, maybe the issues will come up, maybe they won't. It's basically it's not a vegan band. We're vegan and you're not, and
for me this was a surprise. When I was like, it was a surprise, but it wasn't a surprise, right? It was like, I didn't really realize that there was a strong subculture here. Huge. But now it makes sense.
Punk and post-punk. Right. Lots of it.
Right. Yeah. Now it makes sense, and I can see why that progressed. And that's a positive, because it's saying that if you're not a vegetarian or plant-based, that you're not being beaten over the head with it each and every time if you're going to someone's show or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And I think Consolidated was more like that. Meat Beat Manifesto was, they were very political and vocal about the animal advocacy, and it has a time and it has a place.
Well, when I was listening to Joan Jett or the Pretenders or whatever,
it's not about
it wasn't out front there. No. In an interview later, you'd go,
that's what that person is about. Yeah,
and they're speaking about it.
Exactly.
But I'm not.
The music isn't necessarily about it, although there might be one or two songs here or there that that touch on it, because it's going to come out. It has to come out somewhere. And then when they vocalize how they feel about things, that's when the artist can actually make a huge stamp and can say something when they have people's attention. Like, hey, you like my music? Great.
Right.
Well, I have something to say also. So it can be very beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's for me, that's always been a positive thing, is like you said, if you like my music, you like what you're doing. And by the way, it's like the positive influence. It's like living by example. Look at this person I admire. Like you said, your bandmate, you admired that person.
Yes.
And so the best influence is what you admire, what you want to be.
And he never hounded me about anything really. It was a natural attraction, and then over time it just kind of, I guess it all culminated into this, definitely into this project.
Yeah. So and we wanted to mention that you're doing 2 screenings.
Yes.
I think
of the Home on the Range documentary.
Well, I think one's at 11 a.m. on Saturday.
11 a.m. on Saturday and 2 p.m. on Sunday.
Right. And it's at the Oregon Convention Center.
Oregon Convention Center.
I think we said Expo Center earlier, but it's Oregon
That's somewhere else.
That's not,
I haven't been here for a while.
And this is like the big yearly veg fest.
Yes,
it's a big shindig.
It's been running for a long time, so yeah, it should be great, and I look forward to. There's a lot of great guest speakers and food sampling of.
There's lots of food.
And,
well, I mean, can you have a veg fest without like having some samples, you think?
You have to have
Come on,
samples.
it's like, and it's all like
I'm just there for the free samples.
non-animal.
Really.
Well, but you're selling the CD.
Yeah, we have a table there, a booth. CFEI has a booth, so we have T-shirts that help fund the organization.
Buttons? Do you have buttons?
We have buttons. We have tote bags. We have free food gift bags. We're giving out free food. Yeah, we have free food. Lundberg Farms. We have some Raw Revolution. We have some vegan chocolate chip cookies, and we have some vegan jerky. So we're just giving out all kinds of stuff to help people see what plant-based food is all about.
Yeah. Okay. So, so a little bit about myself, because that's what it's about.
Enough about me. What do you think about me?
Well, let me tell you. I realized last month, early September, I have been plant-based diet for 5 years. It was like my 5-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel great.
Yeah.
Never would.
It's a good decision, yeah?
Yeah, never would consider anything else.
Absolutely.
It's like once you're there, you're there.
What were the reasons that you initially started doing that?
It's a very similar story to yours.
Yeah.
Again, same thing. Always something in the back of your head. When I was in high school, I was doing. I went to this Catholic high school, but then I had this reform done. Like they didn't wear the habit or anything. They just looked like a typical.
Did they hit
your grandma.
Did they hit your knuckles with a ruler or anything like that?
Totally like, hey, wow, yeah. And it was like, hey, I want to read some Buddhism and stuff. She's like, yeah, wow, that's great.
Okay.
Go do it. Like one of those kind of like, they have
fast and loose with the rules.
Yeah, kind of liberal. Just like no, anything's cool. Just bring it to me. If you have questions, conversations. And then she's like hitting me with these really far out liberal Catholic theologians and stuff. Check this guy out. The church isn't sure about
They sure did a number on you, didn't they?
Well, it was good. It wasn't like slap you and beat you up and, praise Jesus and all that stuff. Nothing wrong with that if you're into that. But anyway, so I did that. And so I did a lot of, I was curious about Islam and Buddhism and all the stuff that goes on outside of this wonderful little insular America that we have.
Yeah.
And it just always kind of struck me. I also was the kid. Okay, I was the kid in Sunday school that said, question about that souls and heaven and then the killing of the animals. I was that kid.
Hurting living beings
and it would be like,
things like that. Thou shalt not this and thou shalt not that.
Yeah.
Did you ever see one of those little films that PETA put out that showed a little that showed just enough of the reality of it? That's also another good way to get people to realize, to shock them into like, hey, this is happening. I've
seen a little tiny bits of it. I have a hard time with it.
That's the point. Can't. That's the whole point.
I'm like, it's kind of like war. I know it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't need to see film of it. I know what happens, and so factory farming and slaughterhouses and all that. It's like, oh no, I know.
It's there, but people don't think about it being there, because if they knew it was there, they wouldn't be part of doing that. That's what I
enough, feel. And this may tie into your film as well. I'm getting a lot of people who, and my daughter included, who are seeing those films in school right now.
Yes.
And in fact, a friend on Facebook just a day or two ago posted my son, who's an athlete. He's a big athlete in high school. He's going vegan. And they watched a film in school, and he and his buddy, and they're athletes. These are strong.
Yeah, there's a huge surge of plant-based athletes right now, weightlifters and athletes.
Damon
a lot. Yes.
Lillard,
yes.
Just last month on my kind of vegan anniversary had posted on Instagram that he was going into a plant-based vegan diet for health and weight loss and getting strong.
Right.
And there's this whole, people immediately come out and they go, you're an athlete. You cannot. You must have meat and all this, which is, research says,
Yeah,
Not true.
people aren't ever really going to agree on it, and even some people would say, some hardcore vegans will say, oh well, you know, you're not doing it for the right reasons, and you're just doing it for yourself, and you're not doing it for the animals, and which is, you know, there's one side of it. But I say any reason that you decide not to continue causing death and harm to animals for whatever reason that is a good reason. Well, if you're going to stop eating animals for whatever reason, I think it's a good reason. And for the animals.
My initial reason 5 years ago was just health. It was like, you know, I'm not so down on this anyway, you know, and I'm hanging out with a few musician friends, and they're vegan, and so it's like, oh, you want to go out to lunch, and it's like, well, you know, you can order what you want. I'm like, no, I'll just, when in Rome, I'm totally cool. Let's have the plant-based stuff. There's been a huge growth of that industry. You know, a lot of companies are realizing that, hey, there's money to be made in this type of food, and it's a mainstream thing now. You can, I flew on an airline here last night, and now there's vegan options on that airline. You know, 10 years ago, there wasn't. That's the lucky thing. I think it came later in my life for me, because it was just my culture where I was growing up. It just you'd even bring up the idea of, you know, other cultures and stuff, and they'd be like, whoa, what are you?
In the United States of America, at this time, you know, there are so many options.
I luckily stepped into it at the sweet spot, because now I've been to these events and things, and there's people making non-dairy vegan cheese, like aged. There's like, oh well, I guess there's nothing here now that I'm gonna miss.
There's a saying that says, anything you can do, I can do vegan. There's a saying that's going around, you know, and it's true. And people are using their background and their creativity and coming up with just the most, you know, phenomenal things I've ever seen. We travel around to these veg fests, you know, all over the place, and it's great to see what everyone's take on these different items. It's totally phenomenal.
I like Southern cooking, and I do the comfort food. So I've taken all my recipes and veganized them. So I've got my gumbo. My vegan gumbo. I've got vegan jambalaya. I love making paella. This is like one of the. It's like, okay, what am I gonna do here? How am I gonna? Let me figure this out.
I saw a vegan cookbook that had that was the theme. There's a lot of different great places. There's a place that I went to in Detroit that was doing vegan soul food.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was great. It's great.
Who doesn't like soul food?
Food. Like, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just.
And there's a new one that's in Harlem now that I haven't been to yet. That I'm going to check out when I get back. But
so Portland, speaking of which, because now we're talking about food and all that. So Portland is a huge vegan place. Like we talked about the background in that. And then you're living in Brooklyn? No, you're from Brooklyn. You're living.
I'm living in Long Island City, Astoria. So it's just across that Queensboro Bridge there.
But you don't think of New York as being so vegan, but.
Oh, of course you think of New York as being vegan. It's probably one of the biggest vegan cities in the whole world. According to the ranking, they ranked, you know, the best vegan cities in the whole world, and LA was 1 and New York was 2.
Wow. Okay. Just because
we have 200 vegan restaurants there.
Wow. It's a variety of all sorts of things.
Yeah, anything you want. You know, 24 hours a day practically.
Yeah, that's nice.
So yeah, it's definitely a good place, and Portland's a great place for it, and I think now more so than ever. When I lived here, you could get vegan options at a lot of places, but there wasn't always just a dedicated vegan-only restaurants, which I see a lot more of now, which is which is great. There's places I definitely am going to visit while I'm here.
Yeah,
to take advantage of my time here.
There's it seems like every new restaurant that pops up lately in Portland is like it's either vegan fully or very, very.
They're covering their
vegan
bases. They
friendly.
have, people are demanding this food.
Yeah.
So a lot of restaurants that are, omni restaurants are at least providing, a vegan menu or vegan items that are labeled as such, because people are asking for it. It's supply and demand. How many Blockbuster video stores do you see on the corner anymore? None. So when a demand goes away and there's a demand for something else, then that's what people are going to fill. And again, there's people are doing a lot of great things with their creativity, putting into these vegan cheeses, vegan barbecue sandwiches, and vegan cakes and donuts and
donuts.
There's all of it.
I'm not a big donut. I'm not a big sweet fan of donuts, but
you could have one.
But yes.
And it's there if you need it. That's the thing, is that if you wanted a donut, you could have a vegan donut, and it wouldn't.
And not only a vegan donut, but I would say the best donut I've ever had in my life. I was like, oh my, this is, and I couldn't.
And it was a vegan donut?
Yes.
Yeah. Where did you get it?
Dough Donuts.
Okay, there you go.
These gals, they make just the I mean, again, I was like, not only is this a vegan thing, and I had two halves of, I couldn't like finish the whole thing. I was like, but it was, I had two samples, and I said, not only this is a vegan donut, this is the best donut I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like, because I used to, you grew up and
if you gave that donut to somebody and didn't say anything,
they wouldn't know.
They wouldn't say vegan, non-vegan. Just to say this is a good donut.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about food these days. It's like, this food tastes good, and then you leave it at that, and it's great because the stuff is there. It's available if people want it. We have the internet. Anyone can learn anything immediately about anything within 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and it's there in front of you.
I think that's a super good point. Is now it's gotten to the point where it's like, you don't even say anything.
No, you don't need to.
Just here, have that.
This is
Do you
good.
like it? Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I did when I first did the thing, and I made paella, and I said, I'm gonna just not say anything. It's like, it's like when I grew up with the old coffee commercials.
Yes.
It's like they're drinking the coffee. It's like,
this is good coffee.
This is good coffee. It's decaffeinated, and it's like, whoa.
It's
a little bit different from a plant-based diet.
Mrs. Olsen.
Yeah.
Folgers.
Oh, I have a whole reel of the most sexist 1950s commercials that are all Mrs. Olsen's, and we're going to play it on the other show at some point. It's a plan. I mean, they're all up, like you said, there's everything on the internet.
Yes.
YouTube is your friend.
Yes.
And you're watching these going.
And your enemy.
Wow. You're just.
Yeah, it's the cause and the solution to all of life's problems.
Yeah, apparently in the 50s, the biggest problem men had was their wives making them good coffee.
That was a big problem, probably, and shaving in your car was another big problem.
I mean, you just want one of these ladies at some point in the commercial to look over and go, "Why don't you make your own damn coffee?" It's like,
yeah,
But Mad Men, that.
Sure.
Whatever. The 50s. Eisenhower, rock and roll. Anyway, so Veg Fest, you got all this stuff going on. Is there anything else that kind of you've got in your head planned, or you just ready to enjoy the weekend and Veg Fest?
I'm gonna enjoy the weekend here, and then next week we go to the Texas Veggie Fair in Dallas.
Yes.
And then I'm back in New York for a week or two, and then I go to Hong Kong, and we have an event in Hong Kong. Doing the same thing. It's a screening. I'm going to do an acoustic performance.
Okay.
Same idea.
Now, did you do a concert, a little concert in the U.S., or is that just gearing up for Hong Kong? You're not doing one this weekend.
No, this one we're doing film screenings.
Mm-hmm.
The Hong Kong one just turned out to be a film screening and a performance.
Cool.
So I'm going to just do a solo acoustic Warshow Angels performance along with that as well.
Oh, that'd be fun. When's that?
That is November 18th.
So you'll be doing this all
Yes.
all through the end of the year, and the CD's selling well, getting
As
traction.
well as the CD can sell in 2017.
Yeah.
I think people, it's really a donation. Here you get a CD. You may not have a CD player. You could download the CD.
Yeah. The idea
Maybe
is to
people
get
just feel sorry for us. Maybe they're just taking pity on me and all my hard work.
It's hard. I don't know if I'd take pity on a CD that has Joan Jett, and the Pretenders, and Moby, Yoko Ono.
If there's
that doesn't seem like feeling sorry.
If there's any way I can,
it seems pretty A-list to me.
If there's any way I can beat myself up about something, I'll find it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's I know when I was going, oh, we're gonna have Neil on here, and it was like, whoa, look at this CD Neil made here. It was like, yeah, look at it.
There's some people on there.
Yeah, a few.
You should know the ones that got away. I can't even tell you.
Right.
The three that got away.
That'll be the next.
See what I can do
project.
for the next one. Those people are apparitions. You can't even find them.
Yeah. So are you going to the documentary? Is that going to be released on a disc or a Blu-ray or?
So
something?
the documentary is the reasoning behind releasing that documentary is it's open source. So we have it available on YouTube. It's on the Compassionate Farming website. It's on the Home on the Range benefit website. We didn't want to sell it. That was the whole thing, is that we just wanted it to be available for people to see it. And then we do these screenings, and it's nice to meet all the people in person. So if we come to your town and there's a screening, that's one great way to check it out. The other way is just, going on the internet and typing in Home on the Range benefit, and that would show up, and you can just watch it on Vimeo has it, YouTube has it. It's just streamable from multiple sources, and we wanted it to be available for everyone, no matter where they are.
We have a little bit of it, just a little preview of it right here on YouTube. It's got some nice aerial footage of the farms and whatnot. So that's up on your YouTube channel.
And that took a while to put together, let me tell you.
I know.
You ever make a film?
Well,
Hey, you haven't made a film in a while. How about doing this one?
Yeah. No, there's some really nice stuff on there. I wanted to.
Yeah, we got some good shots. We filmed on location at Catskill Animal Sanctuary.
Yeah. And
interviews with Kathy Stevens, with Nellie McKay, with Princess Superstar, Karen Ellis Ritter from CFEI, and Joshua Ritter from CFEI. Some really, it's a kind of an uplifting, hopeful film. It's 19 minutes long, 20 with the credits, and it tells you what you can do in a positive way. It's not showing you what a horrible person you are for doing this and this. It's giving you solutions and inspiration to make change.
Yeah, they've got a lot of farm footage and all that in here. That's great. Wow, the thing looks great, by the way.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to show a little bit of that. And
so we'll be showing it this weekend. Yeah.
Come to the Veg Fest. It's I can't remember. I think if you have one of these. $10 a day, $7 for students and seniors, so it's cheap.
And there may be a Groupon type coupon offer cheap. Online. Yeah, it's pretty inexpensive. This
is not like expensive thing to
you
go
could
to.
Eat more free food than that would, than you would pay.
Yeah, you can.
It's worth it.
You can go to this thing and just go hungry.
You could even put some in your pocket if you felt like you were getting ripped off.
Actually, I hear that Home on the Range booth. You could. Put extra cookies in your pocket.
They are pushovers. If they're looking the other way, I would just put just extra cookie.
I'm interested in the CD.
Tell me more about this, and then the cookie goes into the pocket.
And then someone's got their
Exactly.
Yeah. But watch yourselves. You might need some security. I don't know, but it's a good event.
Should be great.
Lots of kids. They also have one of the things about this. Is they have
it's a family event, so there's kids activities, there's guest speakers, there's demonstrations, there's everything.
Yeah, it's kind of
cooking demos,
GPG event. It's for
kids.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no hard R kind of vegan stuff. I don't know what that would be, but I can imagine it. Maybe not. I don't know. But they have people here who are They give talks on the health benefits. They've got doctors.
Yeah, there's
and
doctors,
nurses.
scientists, things like that.
So the one thing about is if you go there and you're like, okay, my kid's
people
an
that
athlete.
actually established farm animal sanctuaries. There's a lot of good guests.
Yeah. In fact, I mentioned this to my friend. I said, hey, by the way, this weekend, if you're not doing
If you have nothing to do at all,
take the kid over
think
there.
about it. Yeah.
And you'll learn. You could always go there and ask lots of questions to people.
Yeah, or just try the
booths
food.
Or whatever,
just try the food. That's the gateway right there. Is trying the food, seeing how great it tastes, and then kind of the veil is lifted, and then depending on how much information you want to learn or not, it's there. It's all available there.
We had this wonderful vegan bakery lady who's out of New York. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Maybe someone would remind you. And she gave a talk. Fran
Costigan, I saw.
Fran Costigan.
So we saw her at the Hudson Valley Veg Fest, which was not too long ago, and she did a cooking demonstration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she does
great.
bakery.
She does,
cakes and stuff.
Yep.
And I remember Fran, we were doing an interview, and she was talking about, she was talking about, everyone says, oh, vegan is weird, plant-based is weird. Did you have a salad today?
Yeah.
Did you have some vegetable? I mean, yeah, you might add things to it, but you already eat human beings already eat plant-based food.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
So unless I've known a few people who didn't. They were like,
well, pizza is plant-based, I mean,
well,
tomatoes and wheat and, whatever you make the crust out of and whatever you decide to put on top of it,
I literally have known a couple people who were completely they didn't eat one stitch of plant-based. Yeah, it was like how do you do that even?
It's called an Oreo-itarian, I think.
It's like I'm not to get into details, but it's like, what's your constitution
aside from all the
like?
Chemicals, there's actually there are some plants in there too.
Yeah. And believe me, it amazed me. Anyway, super exciting, and I can't wait. I'm excited. I get to go this year.
Great.
Because there's always something, some conflict or whatever, and so this year I'm going. I'm going to be there.
Wonderful. We'll see you there.
We're going to hang out and see your talk and all that. And
wonderful.
Figure stuff out. So I'm excited. It'll be a big happy shindig with lots of happy shiny people.
I hope so.
Well, thanks, Neil, for this examination, and
absolutely, thank you for having me.
Yeah, clean bill of health. So, you'll be fine until the next podcast, colonoscopy.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, but you're healthy. You're vegan.
Okay,
so see, you've already got that going.
Clean bill of health. So basically, I don't need to make a follow-up appointment or anything?
No,
I'm all set?
No.
Okay, great.
No.
I'll see you in a year then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So thanks a lot. And
thank you.
And good luck on the Home on the Range. We'll replay that little bit here with Neil Cohen, Home on the Range. We'll put the links down in the show notes. Go get it. It's looks like a lot of fun. See you later.